it just mashes. Like, Ember does not enjoy that. Like, buy level 3, level 2 Scatter Blast, and the Cookie, just Cookie, you creep forward, Scatter Blast, Ember is very sad. It's hard to dodge. You have to play with a Sleight of Fist really well. Level 6 timing is painful. If Snapfire hits it earlier, and it tends to on Yopaj, get the kisses out from a mile away with a Cookie on a creep wave, you find that kill. Like, the Ember can't run. I think SMG is going to have to emphasize this Tusk rotation along with early movement from the Spirit Breaker to bully out the Snap. That's when she's weak. When rotations come in, Snapfire doesn't have the best mobility, so that's what SMG will have to look to plug in. But whenever Yopaj plays the Snapfire mid, I have to say, we haven't seen it lose recently. Not since he was on OB Neon, I want to say. Like, in BTS Pro Series 4. That's the last time we saw people figure it out. But recently, when it does slide through, it dominates. So I'm a bit worried for SMG. It feels like they got baited into the Ember this time.
I'm getting a little bit upset now. I mean, johnxfire continues to predict things correctly.
This is your turn, MLP. You can predict.
It's really upsetting, though, because I wanted you to be like, oh, Mike's got such a hard job. He has to work with johnxfire, but now he's predicting everything. He doesn't usually do this, Nat. I think you're the good influence on him right now. He doesn't usually get it right very often. And he's giving these damn circle analysis that people are probably going to think is legitimate because he keeps predicting the damn drafts.
I mean, that ultimate, it's all adding up. Circles.
Yep. A lot of circles here. Yopaj does have some circles. He has them Autumn's Kisses. Those are circles when they do land. So tell us, Jonathan, are these circles better than the circles of SMG, or do SMG have the better circles?
Oh, 100%. I think Boom has a lot of good circles to play with. I mean, it's just mainly just a Snapfire, right? Like, she's the big circle. Storm is there from Mirana. Not that big. Pangolier is a rolling circle, so that's great. SMG, I think their movement, their control isn't as good in a wide AoE. I mean, they've got Charge and Snowball, and that's it. And if the line is broken from Boom, if they just stay kind of declumped, it's going to be hard to get a good line from the Charge, a good line from the Snowball, and you're still likely to get what you need from Boom in these team fights. I think the pressure is mainly on really Moon from the Ember to jump the back line. Like, it's down to him to get a good chance to set up, but it's not the easiest Ember game to get that done. You're up against Lion, so you have to always figure out where Scam is, and they were doing a good job in game 1 of hunting them down, but the issue then is you might be overextending for the Lion, and that's going to give an opening for the Snap Cookie, for the Rolling Thunder, for the Arrow to connect, and you still have enough control from there. So I'm keen to see how SMG make up for that. They have to worry about the line. At the same time, they can't afford to commit too hard in line, ignoring everyone else.
What do you feel that... Sorry, I'm going to quickly ask. SMG are really lacking. Is this something that they're going to have to put more into stuns?
I think SMG's covered with stuns. I don't know what they're really lacking. Like, they are lacking a bit of team fight here.
Oh.
What is it, John? You're going to predict
they
something?
Banned the AM. They banned the AM. Look at that. It would be really nice.
I'll be frank. I feel like Boom Esports could go into that old school POS1 Ricky from Jackie. It does feel like there's a lot of value there, Jonathan. There is a lot of value for the Ricky. I know it's not in meta, the carry Ricky, but I think they could make it work.
I know what you're doing, Mike. The last time you said that, Ricky came out, so you're banking on that. It did come out last time, it did come out. It was like 50-50 though. Like, it felt like they didn't have the greatest lane when we saw that Ricky last night. Mainly because it was laning against OD. I think in this case, you're laning against likely Spirit Breaker, likely Tusk. It is a little bit more manageable. It's still pretty tough, but you can kind of play around it. So I wouldn't mind that Ricky for Jackie. It is one of the things that he played early on in Motivate Trust's history. So it would really work out. That Smoke is another circle. Tricks of Trade is another great circle. They do pick up the tide here on SMG. So now there's a question of, are we seeing Raging Potato Tide? Are we seeing Roger Tide? I think it's likely for SMG it's Roger Tide because Raging loves his Spirit Breaker. So you've got a support Tide. That does solve an issue that we were saying. They lack wide AoE. They've got Ravage now. So they've got some really good team fight to play with. They're not just depending on a good line from the Charge and Snowball. And I think that's something Boom's gonna have to watch out for. But we have seen POS 5 Tides also fall flat if they don't manage to get enough farm by, say, the 25-minute mark to really have some impact. It gets harder and harder to get a good Ravage. You do have Snowball to kind of send you in, but that is very telegraphed, and Boom should be able to read that.
Do you feel that for SMG this is a lineup and a draft that plays into their playstyle?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, we've seen Roger Tide many times. I think Moon does a great job on the Ember. It does see... No, they're giving Raging the Tide. Okay, I don't really like that per se. I prefer the Raging Potato Breaker, but... I mean, I guess it works either way because you're just playing the Spirit Breaker Morphling combo again. And Arfu can still make that work for mid one. And Arfu is now playing a playmaker hero, so I guess we got our wish in the end.
Yeah.
Still, I'm not sure how to feel about it now. I really thought Raging was going to play the POS 3 Spirit Breaker.
On the other side, the Medusa coming out. We haven't touched on that one yet. So before we go into game number 2, John, give me a little bit of analysis how you like that rounding out for Boom's draft.
I love it. I think the lane matchup for Jackie's, again, very manageable up against a Tidehunter off lane. You can't really play with your Anchor Smash all too well. Dusa stands a mile away. Mystic Sneak out. I think overall, Boom has come out with a stronger draft this time around. SMG... with a playmaker on Afu with Spirit Breaker, I think we need to expect that rotation on mid we talked about. He has to contest Yopaj. He has to shut down the snap before it hits level 6, and while it can't escape. So that's what we need to see from SMG, and I think for SMG, they've got the lineup to enable that, but overall, Boom has a lineup they are very comfy and very familiar with here.
Well, I'm going to go grab myself a can of Mate, and I'm going to leave you both to game number 2 and all that circle talk, you know? Give me some more of the circle talk. I'll let you guys go and jump into this game.
Thank you very much, Nat. We will get into it. Game number 2 between SMG and Boom Esports. Now, John, you talked about the fact that you enjoyed Boom Esports' draft. You wanted the mid-snapfire, and that's what you got. Who takes out game 2, though? Do you predict SMG can force it to a game 3 as we want, or do you think Boom Esports are just going to roll over them like game 1?
I feel like if Boom just play exactly how they did in game 1, it's going to go their way. Like, their lane matchup is even more one-sided on paper. We have never seen Ember win against Snap. Even if you go for the Sleight of Fist build and Chains, it just is such a hard lane. I think Yopaj is going to be able to snowball off the back of that. For SMG, they have to play perfectly. They have to get those rotations out from Afu onto mid. And if it doesn't come out, you know, that's where the worry comes in, because that snowball effect they need their lineup to have is going to be taken out once more. And I think the heroes all have the same timings. They all have kind of the same power spikes from game 1's draft. So it's all about just not repeating those mistakes from game 1 and kind of just pulling off your own peaks here.
We might see a level 1 fight break out. Boom, they seem very interested in it as FBZ. He's going to try and bait them forward into the high ground of that triangle, but everyone's waiting on the high ground, waiting as the arrow is going to fly right into Roger, but do you have the follow-up? Not quite. Boom will reveal exactly where they are. Get the D-ward off on the cliff. They'll still surely be able to secure both those bounty runes down on the bot side. SMG, though, they'll be able to get the top bounty runes, no problem. I suppose while we're around, we may as well start with that top lane where you are going to see Arfu rotate up with the POS 4 Spirit Breaker. Of course, he's going to be... Well, I assume he's going to rotate down to the bot lane, and he will. But the Spirit Breaker Tide combination, John, not something we get to see too often here against Skem and Jackie on the Medusa and Lion. How do you feel about the bot lane?
I don't know if it's going to be applying enough pressure onto Jack Boys. I think you still have the same issue. It's a dual melee lane up against a dual range. I think Jackie can just sit back, play with his Mystic Snake if things get tough. Maybe by level 2, level 3, you feel a lot better here for Afu. You do have some good gush plays to make with a right-click damage of a Tide. But Jackie's very well protected, and we've seen Skem before. He's willing to throw his body forward. He's willing to die for his core, and that's exactly what Jackie wants. He just wants to sit back and farm, so... if all SMG can find is pressure on a Lion, you're not really getting your money's worth out of this duo. And this duo is very EXP hungry. Spirit Breaker in general just is. Tide is as well. So Afu is going to need to soak as much as possible before those mid rotations to slow down Yopaj.
Certainly so. Of course, top lane, mid 1 and Roger against FBZ and Tims. And mid 1 on that Morphling again, along with Roger on that Tusk. So a very similar lane here for SMG. Because they are up against the Pango of FBZ now, so not quite the Beastmaster, but I'd say there's still a lot of kill potential from Boom Esports at this top lane. Because you are looking for an arrow to land on at least Roger to be able to secure that kill, but knowing Tims, he will eventually get one. We'll see how SMG tries to deal with this, but John, is there anything in particular we should look out for at this top lane, or...?
Nah, I think it's still going to play the same. SMG's just going to have to... take it slow. They could look to be a bit more aggressive on FBZ. I think with it not being the Beastmaster, Boar Slow is not going to slow down your own movement forward. so Roger might be able to find the angle once he does have Snowball up. But he's already taken a lot of damage out of regen. This is a really rough spot for our Tusk once more. Tim's just doing really good in trading with the enemy support. Like, he keeps Roger so low that he can't walk up to pop tag team, and that means you're not getting any value from that level 1 spell of Roger, and he's just getting harassed constantly. Sure, mid 1's still finding some good farm, but it's not like you're too slowing down on FBZ, although he has been getting a lot less than the Beastmaster, just the nature of the Pangolier. In terms of that, you are seeing a very deep dive out from Skem with that pull. Like, he manages to at least snipe the courier, but that's really deep. Like, he contests the pull and just makes Afu really work for this.
Oh, might find another courier. Oh, mid one. Courier is...
Oh,
never mind. 70% comes in clutch. Afu gonna stop the courier going down. Might even be able to chase Skem now as he's got a rotation in from the mid lane, out from Moon. This might be first blood to come out for the Ember as Moon is able to pick it up, and Skem, well, like you said, John, he was very, very deep, and giving that first blood gold the way of Moon, especially when he's struggling against Yopaj in that mid lane, it's going to be a great comeback mechanic for the Ember.
Yeah, it's a great way for him because his lane is kind of shut down. You see that CS board right now, 20-7 for Yopaj, 13-0 for Moon, and we talked a lot about this in draft. You're seeing it in play now. Snapfire just dominates that lane. Like, there's not much Moon can do about it. He does opt for Sleight of Fist and Flame Guard still, but I think the emphasis has to be on that Sleight of Fist to dodge some of those plays Yopaj will want. He's about to hit 5. He's going to hit 6 a lot faster. And that's the point where you get a bit scared as Ember, because Kisses come out. Without Chains, you can't save yourself. Without Remnant, you can't run. And we aren't seeing those rotations onto mid yet.
Top lane, though, FBZ has been rotated on by Afu. Shards are going to be there, but FBZ, he holds on to the swashbuckle. So he's always able to get out just fine. Even gets salved up by Tims. Back to that mid lane, though, like you mentioned, I mean, this Snapfire just not losing to the Ember, and well, Moon still doing his best to try and keep up, but it looks like it's going to be another great game here for Yopaj. And I feel like this is one of the heroes that really opened our eyes to how good this player was, right? Like, we used to watch this mid-snap come out constantly from OB Neon, as you mentioned, and we'll hold that thought, because Afu top lane is going to drop, and now Roger is going to be chased down by FBZ and Tims, but a nice chance to block the way is mid one. Will try and chase down Tims, but is unable to keep up. So Afu does end up going down, and they're unable to find a nice trade for themselves on SMG. In fact, mid one needs to be very cautious with that HP juggle. But he's going to be fine for now. In fact, mid lane is where the action's happening. Yopaj finding a solo pick-off onto Moon prior to that level 6 mark. And we've seen that one before, haven't we, John?
Yep, it's level 6. It's the Kisses coming out. Get the cookie on the creep wave. You find an easy kill. And let me tell you, I've been playing a lot of Snapfire offlane. If I can make that work at the same timing, you know it's just devastating when Yopaj does it. It's just ridiculous. Like, the early spikes of this hero in a great solo lane is nearly impossible to play against. We haven't seen those rotations out from Afu. He's been focused top. So I think that choice from SMG to focus on under lanes instead of mid is hurting them. They might be able to kill off Skem, who was on a bit of a run to contest a bit of farm, but he looks like he might be able to run. No lucky bashes out from Afu. And while Afu's moving around like that, Mike, not only are you giving up mid, but you're giving Jackboys a very free lane bot. He is under some pressure from Raging, who is willing to put his body forward, but this is still some really strong farm out from the Medusa, and we already know what Jackie's timings of this hero. If this lane does go pretty tough, he's always got the jungle to play with anyway.
You've got to give a lot of credit to Skem, right? Like, we didn't really give him too much credit last game, even though he was making so many plays in that line, but just the fact that he recognizes that Jackie does not need his help. And even as that Pos 5 Lion, he just starts rotating around and doing just annoying things like taking farm off Moon as he's farming that small camp. It really does start to get to you and have a pretty big impact later on. And Skem, I mean, just finding something to do on a Pos 5 Lion when you're level 3 is already difficult enough, but he's finding ways to keep himself busy and not affect the farm of his position 1, which is also very nice. Is Jackie just able to soak XP by himself? Raging, while he can farm very well on the Tide, just can't do anything about the Medusa. And in fact, there's a rotation now onto Raging Potato. Yopaj has shown up. They have the Mortimer's Kisses in about 3 seconds, so they're just waiting very patiently. But Afu's going to charge down and try to disrupt his Raging. He does have the Ravage. They might be able to get the damage out in time, as the Scatterblast even going right through both of them, not connecting on either. But they will not commit the Ravage until, I suppose, Moon does make his way over. And he was running down, but decides better of it. Instead, they'll leave Roger around on the tusk to try, but the shards are off the mark. And I think this time around, you might have to leave it. In fact, Japoy's going to go for the Mortimer's Kisses back in onto Roger. In fact, turn around back in onto Fu and try for that Spirit Breaker. But nobody's going to die. Everyone survives here from SMG. At least for now, but Roger, he's shown back up. He saw that big stack of neutrals. And it does seem like they want to try and contest with this tide. Problem is, Boom Esports are going to remain around and try to protect this. Raging, though, is going to make his way over and get a little bit greedy with this creep wave. In fact, Moon even going to show up on the Ember to make sure he is safe. Yopaj even being charged while this is happening, just to give that vision over. And Raging, he hasn't backed off yet. Still very confident with that ulti up. And just the fact that he's so tanky, but now the snowball going to go in onto Skem as the charge is also there from Yopaj, and now a big Ravage out. Raging timing it perfectly. Japoy, though, still going to jump to the low ground, but Moon should be able to chase him down slowly but surely and eventually find this kill. As Yopaj, he will still keep trying to run, and Moon, well, he doesn't actually have enough. He can't chase him down much further without any remnants. So Yopaj still gets himself out of there. The only kill they really end up getting is one as they'll try back in onto Tims. Tims, though, has 2 leap charges. He's trying to bait them a little bit further as now Skem has respawned. Back in onto the tusk they go. And it does seem like they're going to be able to get a bit of revenge here against SMG. The Skem does a little bit of a running man for a bit of a celebration.
Yep, they managed to force a lot of movement out from SMG. They don't find anything really beyond the stacks, which is still a big take. But it's not the only stacks in the map. There's still a good amount of triangle stacks for Jackie, and while if that happens, Jackie is still free farming. Ardusa is growing a lot faster than the Morphling just by nature of the hero. You are seeing mid-1 being aggressive on FBZ, not enough to clean up, and I think this is the worry, right? You're investing a lot of resources to try and slow down this bot lane, but you're not really affecting Jackie at all. You maybe are affecting the snowball on Yopaj this time around, but he's got Kisses back up. They're smoked up. They're going to look for that play once more.
But they are. Skem, Cookie's off the mark this time, but they got the Earth Spike and they've got the Hex into the arrow, so it looks like Moon is still going to drop. Just not reacting quite fast enough to Skem making his move in. He did have remnants, but the reaction time just was not there.
Yeah, and you've got to be concerned about that. Like, you still have a lot of good control coming out from Boom, and they have this early spike. I think SMG, it feels like after that bot jungle fight, they just kind of grouped back and farmed up again, which again, it doesn't benefit SMG because you're losing that farm war to Adusa. Mid-1 is getting space, but we've seen the Morphling power spikes. It is a lot later because of the farm acceleration Adusa does have when it's enabled. I think for SMG, they need a few more levels up. Like, you want maybe level 5 on Roger before you fully commit, and level 6 definitely up in Afu before you actually start charging around. But they have to get that flowing in. They have to be able to match the space from Boom, who are just willing to run all across the map, making space happen for their big core. And surprisingly, there's just no one running down Jackboys. They know he's alone. They've seen everyone else rotate mid. And the Deuce is just very safe. They have Roger here now, but it's a level 4 Tusk. What's he gonna do?
And he shards blocks himself, unfortunately. Roger, slowed up a bit there by Jackie, but Jackie's not going to waste his time with the chase. He understands his only job is to hit creeps for the next 10-15 minutes. No need for him to try and get aggressive in this game. Unlike last time around. Still Tims, going to be found out by Moon and Roger. Charge will be there from our food. Tims, he'll try to leap his way out. He does have Moonlight Shadow. It looks like it's going to be enough just to leap away. In fact, Arrow is going to land on Moon, and the rotations are coming in. Yopaj has joined. In fact, they found the Spirit Breaker, so Arfu trying to find a way out, but the Hex again from Skem going to lock him down into the finger. The one down for SMG. As Roger's just going to try and hide and pretend he's a tree right now. And it looks like it's going to be enough for him to survive a little. Oh, the courier, no. It won't give the vision. Neither will Tims. Oh, it does. Tims, he checks the tree line. That's some great game sense out from Tims. Realizing Roger may still be around, and you saw the little micro there with the courier, John. That was on purpose.
Oh, yeah. Just checks the tree. He knew someone else was missing from that gank and managed to get the punishment off. I can't believe how close SMG took that fight while still ignoring Jackie. Right? Like, they were chasing Tims. Jackie was just by the tier 1 farming. And he still manages to farm. He bails out right in time, goes up to the triangle. They are chasing FBZ now, though.
Yeah, they might have him. He's got no swash. He did have stick charges, but perma bash is there from Arfu. So a nice pickup for Moon. They want a bit more. They want to infiltrate those ancient stacks and try to slow down Jackie's farm once again. As Raging will jump in with the anchor smash, but I think Boom will try and force the fight here. They've got the Mortimer's Kisses. They're just lacking FBZ at the moment, but you definitely don't want to give that farm away to SMG if you can avoid it. So Jackie's going to come back in with the Mystic Snake. Hex is out already onto Arfu, into the Mortimer's Kisses, and that's just Spirit Breaker gone, as Jackie is literally just farming the Ancients right now. He's not even focusing heroes. Raging, though, he'll go for the Ravage, and they found the Snapfire, but Yopaj is still alive, still running away. He's not down yet. In fact, a big Earth Spike scam. He'll find two. Mid one, he drops first, and Raging, he probably does not make it out either, as somehow the Snapfire has completely juked out Moon. And once again, Yopaj will walk away unscathed, and they even got most of the big creeps.
Yeah, I mean, you still got a good amount out on Raging Potato. I think he got a lot of that CS, maybe around 70% of all those creeps. But it costs his own life. You're still giving AoE gold, AoE EXP out to a Dusa who shouldn't be able to fight like this. And I like that SMG are finally contesting that triangle, finally trying to jump Jackie, but Boom were in a position to defend. They've got Travels up in Yopaj. He's going to be all over the map. He does not care where these fights break out. He's going to be ready for it. And we are starting to see why SMG chose this Tide. It allows them to contest these stacks very well, but they need that follow-through engage. They need the follow-through control, and I don't know what targets they can go for. Like, they tried to jump Yopaj, he still stays alive. I think they need to be a bit closer. It felt like mid one was just a bit too far to get his waveform to land for the damage, to get the right-click damage off. And that Snapfire is deceptively tanky. 1.6k HP, it's a strength hero. It's actually pretty hard to burst down if you're not ready for it.
Oh, absolutely. It's Roger. Did spot out Skem, but doesn't feel confident enough to try and go for the snowball shards out. Tim's now going to join in with the Moonlight Shadow and the Earth Spike to set up for another nice Arab at mid one. He's around to try and defend, but it won't matter. The finger is just way too quick from Skem. His third kill of the game already on this Lion, and now they know where mid one is. Boom Esports, they probably won't be able to capitalize off that knowledge right now, but it won't matter. They know he's in the triangle somewhere, and that does mean Jackie's probably safe across the map, and that should be all that matters for Boom at the moment.
He's still building up a really good gold lead, 7.4k in comparison to mid one at 6.3, so 1.1k lead, not massive. But as long as you buy that space out, that lead will constantly grow. Dusa just farms a lot faster. They're forced to rotate up onto FBZ. It feels like FBZ this game is just really a big bait here.
Yeah, he's got Rolling Thunder. It's going to be way too hard to try and lock him down. In fact, FBC's actually turned back around for a bit more damage onto Roger. Now the strike, though, is going to lock him down a bit longer, but FBZ, Swash, no, it's not available. They've finally got him, it seems. They do take him out. A little bit of a circle he did there, John. It does end up costing him.
Yep, we managed to get the punishment off. They got good bashes through that spell immunity on the Rolling Thunder. Another strike, even the Snowball can actually give you some control back. Yopaj going blind with the kisses here.
That he is, but he does get the kill anyway onto Roger. No problem if it's blind. Oh, Fu gonna chase down Skem on that line, but we've seen this before. Skem just so easily getting away from absolutely everybody. Another great Earth Spike as well. He has just been so deceptively tanky in the way that he could just run from everything. So they try to chase him down, but they just can't keep up. This Lion just constantly wasting the time of SMG. They might try for Tims, but can they get him? Keeps away towards Arfu. You could try for the charge, and you've got the Tide around to help out, but Tims, he's going to go into the tree line and just fog them out. They just can't charge and stun him up. He's fine.
They don't even find a tower gold. Great deny out from Tims while they're kind of spending their time there. Opening up space for Jack Boys up top. So they're just forced to movement away from the Medusa every single time. And SMG aren't finding anything even from these scraps they're being given. Yopaj, though, being committed on.
He is. They're going to try and take down the Snapfire, but we've seen this before. Shard's block is there, however. Yopaj this time might be dead, and he is. A decent scatter blast, but that's about all he could do. So they do get the first life of this snap. So they will even find Skem, or rather FBZ, but Pango just proving to be a little bit too tanky. Be able to walk himself out. Moonlight Shadow even popped here from Tims. They might try and turn and punish. Jackie is going to find Arfu, but they're going to go in onto the Medusa and try to deal with him. But he just pops the Stone Gaze back in onto the Spirit Breaker. The Ravage, though, will come out, but Arfu has already gone. And now with the Rolling Thunder, they can really chase down the side of SMG. And it looks like they should at least have Raging Potato to boot. The Raging is going to try and buy a bit more time and a bit of counter initiation for his team. They're going to try again onto Skem. They'll take the Lion down, but they've lost Roger in mid one. He gets caught out and he's going to drop. Tim's with the arrow, landing perfectly. With the cookie, Raging, he'll turn around, he'll cop the fire from Yopaj, and FBZ will be the one to take the kill. A 4-for-1 trade, I believe it was. Boom Esports again, just dominating game number 2.
And we're seeing the same thing come out from SMG here, Mike. They're forced to bring mid one in for these fights. Jack Boys just reciprocates, and because he does have this gold advantage, he's just better off. He's level 15 on the Dusa, level 13 on mid one. He's got more stats to play with, more damage flying out with just the Manta Dragonlance. We've seen this last game. That's the timing Jackie's willing to show up, contribute to these fights. And for SMG, they're going to have to wait for that Ags once more in mid one, which is still a ways off. Now, they are still set up for a fight. They don't have the longest cooldowns to wait for outside of Ravage. They can constantly force the issue here, but Jackie doesn't particularly care either. He's just running up here.
Well, they're going to try. Food to set up. Mid one is around, but can you actually deal with this guy? But Jackie just stands his ground. They're still throwing everything at him. Now with the Roller's Punch, he's out of mana, so Jackie's in big trouble. He's still trying to man-fight this one out. He's eventually surely going to die and does, but what's it going to cost the side of SMG for this? They've lost Moon on the Ember. Raging's low as well. FBZ just controlling everybody up on the side of the Dire, but Arfu, he's back in with the charge. It's just not enough though. Raging is still going to drop. I guess maybe you could call that worthwhile. It's still a 2-for-1 trade in the favor of Boom Esports, but I guess at least they got the Medusa.
Yeah, in a way, it's still a win. Like, you're putting Jackie down, you managed to get some good AoE gold flowing the way of mid one. You lose 2 cores in exchange, so it doesn't feel as good as it should be for the side of SMG, and I think that's what's important. Like, yeah, you're slowing down Jackie, you're getting a little bit more on mid one, but it's not just mid one who needs farm, it's also Moon. It's Moon who needs his BKB, who needs the Ags up, who needs a Maelstrom up for damage, and that also takes time for our Ember. All the cores in SMG are just a bit too behind in comparison, and they all need to catch up, save for maybe the Tide. FBZ, though.
He's a pretty tanky boy, but they're going to try and get rid of him first, and they do. Nice kill there from mid one, even if the arrow does land there from Tim's. Almost taking out the Morphling, but FBZ, if he had survived through the initial onslaught, maybe he could have turned that. Still another nice kill for SMG. They are still 5k behind, but most of that farm is sitting on Jackie right now, so if you could just deal with the Medusa in a team fight, or at least everybody else around him, chances are you're going to be sitting pretty on SMG's end of things, but they still need their own farm before they man up as 5 and feel confident enough. In fact, mid lane, Moon, he's going to get hexed up. Do they have the follow-up? Or the snowball? It's going to buy a bit of time. In fact, Skem has already gone down. Roger, though, he brings the Ember right back in, and he's going to lose his own life, but he does save Moon. That's all that matters right now for SMG, is just ensuring this Ember can keep just taking off.
They find a good pickup.
Still struggling. Yopaj. Just the Yule Scepter out onto Arfu. Big chase on though from SMG as mid one and Moon will commit the remnants, but I think Yopaj is well and truly out of there, and now the turnaround might be upon us as FBZ rolling thunder from the backside. Arrow is gonna land Tim's. He doesn't miss these arrows, John. He'll take down Moon, and Raising Potato, well, we've seen this before. He's gonna try to run, and he does have the help around him, so they may not pursue any further, but they've also caught out Arfu. FBZ, blink in. He's got no rolling thunder, but he's opened up the floodgates. As the Ravage does fly out from Raging, they will get Tim's, but it's a lot of damage in the Earth Spike. Catching out 2 again, but the Snowball, but no, the Cookie onto 3 heroes. Jackie, he will get right to work. Raging just about to drop, but somehow still moving out of there. But they do eventually get him. And now they can chase for the rest. FBZ will at least find Roger. But they really want mid one, and Yopaj just spots him out with the Observer Ward and an ultra kill out for the Snapfire, as Jackie does take away the Rampage. How dare you, Jackie?
There's no iPhone for him if he keeps doing that. Yopaj, man, he's doing so much work, and all of whom, honestly, are just playing so well. They're getting their positions right. They're forcing SMG in every time with their Morphling to take these engagements, and they get good Ravages. They get some good saves with the Snowball. The issue is all the AoE control of Boom punishes you for large snowballs. Like the Cookie comes in, the Earth Spike's there, the Rolling Thunder is there. They're just playing so well as a unit from Boom, and this is the impressive part. They take in this new part of this machine with Jackie. It still works out well. SMG not willing to give this one up, though.
They've got to try and find it for the Stone Gaze and the Rolling Thunder as FBZ. He's found two
Oh my
targets
God.
again. Into the Mortimer's Kisses Moon. He wasn't in the snowball. He was out of range. They couldn't save him. He'll buy back and try to reinitiate, but his team's falling apart around him. 3 buybacks already from SMG. As they jump back in on the Deucer. Jackie's falling low in terms of mana, but he does pop that Stone Gaze in Arfu. He was charging the wrong target. They couldn't lock him down. Still, they'll try back in for the Roshan now, knowing all those spells are down, and SMG might be able to get away from it. With Arfu, no, Scam, he's jumped in, but it's not enough. Mid one does get the Aegis up, but can he survive as the arrow has landed on the Morph? It looks like he can. So boom, they will lose the Roshan. They might even lose Yopaj here, but he does manage to blink away in time. And with the Eye of Skadi slow out from Jackie, it looks like it's going to be Roger's life to pay. They even keep trying to fight, but the arrow again onto Moon. Tim's is just not missing. Mid one waveformed in to try and help out, but now he's in trouble. He does at least get the stun off, but Yopaj is there, still strength morphing. Maybe he has a chance. He'll waveform the other way. Still the chase is on Tim's. He will not connect the Starfall, but the Scatter Blast is not going to connect either. The leap was there mid one. He's trying to make magic happen, but he loses the Aegis. He will still have his real life, however. Boom Esports, even if they lose the Roshan, they still came out with a great fight, forcing 3 buybacks out from SMG.
That's disastrous for SMG, Mike. 3 buybacks, 3 diebacks as well for SMG. That massive commitment for the Roshan. They get it in the end. So they take that tool away from Boom, but they instantly lose the Aegis anyway. I think Boom is still very happy with how that fight ended up. Maybe not the ideal situation for Boom, but they win out in the end. SMG, it feels like they're being forced to make all of these plays. Like, we're seeing Moon just buy back, jump back in, wants to use the BKB, but he doesn't have damage. Like, he doesn't have something like Akai. He doesn't have a Maelstrom. He doesn't have even Phase Boots or Corrosion for right-click. So he comes in, and it's just not enough. The follow-through is still not there. You've got the Ags up in mid one, so you can get the double charge action going with the Spirit Breaker form. But again, it's a lack of DPS. Even with the control from Ravage, even with the chains out, they need a little bit more farm to flow in, and maybe it's at this point where, you know, once your Morphling gets something else on top, you start to feel a lot better with the charges once more, as we saw SMG in Game 1. But I worry about what you're giving to Boom. Scotty up on Medusa. Jackie's already hitting hard, mitigating some of the healing from the Strength Morph on our Morphling, and Boom are just going to smoke up once more. They don't have much to wait for in terms of cooldown, so they can just rinse and repeat here.
And they are going to fight into the Ravage this time, but like you mentioned, they've got all their spells available. There's your Moonlight Shadow to sneak their way up to the high ground. SMG, oh, they're going to take the bait. Jackie is baiting them in. Right now, as Rolling Thunder is going to be out. Oh, mid one, he rolled right into them. Arrow's not going to land on the Morphling, but it may not matter as they have the perma stun from FBZ. And the chase is on, just driving all over the place, finding out another hero. He'll get the Tide, and Raging could just not use this Ravage. Or maybe he can. A 4-man, in fact 5-man Ravage out. But do they have the follow-up? Do they really have the damage? It doesn't seem like it. Even with Moon around, he's just got no damage items at the moment. He's only got a BKB. So Yopaj will chase him down. It's already a 4-for-1 trade. And they might even have the Ember. They force him to BKB up. He'll try onto Skem, trying to get something going for themselves. But Yopaj will keep chasing him down with the Yules up, but no, the cookie. It's the wrong way around, and that'll be enough. So a 2-for-4 trade, the way of Boom Esports. That was a very desperate Ravage play coming up from SMG, but I suppose they had to get something.
Yeah, it's just a follow-through. As you said, there's no damage coming out here, Mike. They need more on Moon. He does go for a blink. He wants to be mobile. He wants to kind of weave in and out, maybe take care of the back line first. But that takes a while without these damage item up, because these supports on Boom can just stall out for such a long time and make it very punishable if you overcommit. As we said from the draft, like, they can rip through the back line, but they can't afford to overcommit like that. Jack Boys, though.
Yeah, Rolling Thunder into Arthur, but you've got mid one charging in himself and this Morphling with the Ags up. Problem is, again, they are lacking that follow-up damage, even if they have these perma-stuns. Rolling Thunder is going to be stopped in its tracks as mid one does try to get started. A nice nether strike, but there's just going to blast out an FBZ. He has used himself up and survived, but not for long. He does finally go down to Roger. Meanwhile, Moon, he jumped in, but I believe he got stunned up immediately. Moon, still alive. They're trying on the Tims and they'll get the Mirana down, but now mid one, he's been caught out again. He should be all right to get out, though. Jackie probably won't have enough on his own, but they do find Moon on the Ember. Yopaj again setting up for a triple kill, and here comes mid one, just trying to TP away, but it's going to be another kill to go the way of Boom Esports. As Scam has just proved to be such an issue on this Lion, constantly setting up for the team fights. And they just still can't kill him, John. They cannot kill Scam.
No, and as we said in the draft, they're trying to kill Scam. Like in game one, they're maybe overcommitting to an extent. They just don't have the follow-up damage to instantly burst down the line and clean up afterwards. And the follow-up control from everyone else from Boom is just too much. How do you deal with Jack Boys? Like, if you can't deal with a line, if you can't deal with the Mirana fast enough, and you're barely killing off this Pangolier in time, how do you actually take care of the Deuce in these bigger fights? Because he's got a Silver Edge. Jack Boys has the Silver Edge, Manta, Scotty up, going for a BKB next. This guy is nearly unkillable. You don't have enough damage out on your Morph, on your Ember. You've got good teamfight potential with a Ravage. You can stall this game out with Yags. Perhaps that's what SMG has to go for now. Just keep shoving back the waves, keep buying time, saving their high ground to get the build-up they need on their Ember, on their Morph, because as it stands, it just doesn't feel like they have enough. Now, the worry is, if you stall the game out like that, you're giving this opportunity for Jack to grow bigger and for Yopaj to hit his massive spikes, Mike. Level 21 now. He's got the level 20 talent for Lil Shredder using attack. He's going for a Silver Edge himself. He is also going to be a secondary Medusa if this goes all the way to level 25. So you've got basically 2 Medusas to deal with. I don't know if you can handle that.
I do love that build-up. I mean, it's always fun when you get near that level 25 mark as the Snapfire. Yeah, just with the Silver Edge alone, like it used to be the Daedalus build-up, but the crit still comes out from the Silver Edge, so why the hell not go down that route instead? They are just going to go high ground, it seems. Boom Esports, just nothing to fear at the moment. They've got this great wall in the form of Jackie, and well, like you mentioned just a second ago, you can't really kill the Deuce here. They have done it once, but that's about it. SMG, 5-man smoke up. Maybe they could find a solo pick off first with FBZ. He's going to get spotted on the cliff, but it won't matter. He's already got that Rolling Thunder going as mid one is forced to waveform away and try to run from FBZ. It looks like they're going to be just fine. Everyone from SMG is out of there. They're not going to try and immediately force a fight, it seems. Even with that Rolling Thunder down, which has proved to be a real problem for them throughout these fights, they might just have to wait this one out.
I think they're satisfied with not taking any losses. Good positioning from Boom supports, clearing out the jungle, cutting off that smoke rotation. I think for SMG, giving their position away like that makes it a lot harder to come in. And you still don't know how well Jackie's positioned. You didn't know where Scam was. Roshan, we're going to see in about half a minute. I think this is where the next fight will really break out. Boom in a good position to take it. They've got the outpost up top. They might be able to find some freebies if they're not careful here.
Oh my God. He's got the shards up with the cookie follow-up, and they get him. Moon, he gets a DD room, but it's a very expensive room to pick up for him, as even Raging Potato has been caught. We'll have the Spider Links to try and get away, but Yopaj is all over it. He knows the tricks. 17 kills already for this Snapfire. That is just incredible.
Now that's terrifying. Like, you can't even show up on the Ember. Just the instant stunts are too much. And now mid one down bot, Mike.
Oh, he's not strength morphing, John. He does get it off in the end, but the Snowball is going to try and buy him a little bit more time to just waveform away. But look at this. They just chase him all the way down as Roger just gets completely ignored. FBZ still trying, as there goes your Tusk. They'll keep the vision up with this Pango. But mid one surely should be able to get himself out of this. Keep in mind, though, while this is happening, Jackie's hitting racks. Jackie's got the high ground. Alright, and they've still got mid one, by the way. Mid one has officially been caught out. The arrow on the backside. They're going to buy it back, but it's too late. It is way too late for the buyback.
They leave the racks. They're going for the fight. They're letting Jackie solo the high ground when he's very vulnerable by himself. They're just opting to take this fight.
Jackie's just playing an RPG right now on his own. He doesn't need to join the team at the moment as they are still fighting. You are correct. They have not backed off, but Afu's already gone. They at least get Scamp down on the Lion. It's still not looking good for him as Jackie is still just taking all their buildings away. This is the greatest bait I've seen in a long time. Is Afu. He's going to chase down the Pango. Sure, you get another hero, but you've lost 2 lanes of racks. As now your Page is back in. They're onto the Ember. Moon, he'll be saved by the Snowball for now, but for how long? There's your Ravage out by Raging, trying to turn this one around. But can you deal with Jackie? I don't think they can, John. I do not think they can deal with him. Even if it was 1v5, the Medusa is perfectly fine. And Boom Esports are now 2 Raxes up in this game number 2.
What the heck is going on? SMG, they bit the bait. Their high ground is almost gone. They have a range Rax in the top lane. Doesn't really matter. They're protected from Megas with a tier 2 bot, but to be willing to trade 2 racks for a chance to kill off those heroes, to kill off Yopaj and FBZ, that was a bit much. I think that puts SMG in a very tough position now to defend. You still can't deal with Jackboys. He has a BKB. He has not popped at all. He has potential to go into the Ags build up next, and Roshan is back up with Boom in a pretty good position now. They still have to wait for the respawns here, and SMG does manage to retake their jungle with the outpost. So they can contest. They don't have Ravage for about a minute 10 though, which makes contesting a very hard prospect, but they will smoke up here.
How do you even contest that? I mean, look, mid one's 12k behind Jackie, John, in terms of farm. 12k at 33 minutes. I realize it's a Medusa you're up against, but 12k is kind of ridiculous. Here we go. They're going to try and go into that triangle, but the D-wards are immediately out here with Jackie. Smoke basically broken. Roshan is now officially up, but unless everything goes perfectly for SMG, it's going to be impossible to try and counter the Roshan play. As Arfu, not going to be scouted out, but he does break the smoke. In fact, never mind. He went for the charge, and he's going to pay for it. They just annihilate the Spirit Breaker. FBZ, he's going to have a look for a bit more, but misses out. It won't matter, though, because they've got a nice Roshan to go back to, and Arfu has no buyback available.
And this is not going to take long at all.
Yeah, they're going to try and deal with FBZ, but he has the Aeon Disc and the Spider Legs. And Jackie, he'll move on to the high ground. Ignoring Roshan, he wants the team fight. But it might be time to go back to the Roshan now, as the smoke is going to be there from SMG. I suppose you could try for the Aegis Steel once again. That might be the way to do it. He's still looking for a way in. We'll throw the shards out for vision. Meanwhile, Moon gonna blink his way in. Very aggressive play here from Moon, as he will pop the BKB, but he's trying to go after FBZ, who's perfectly fine right now. Maybe without the roll-up, though, he won't be, but no, he's still alive. Ravage is there. They are still trying onto this Pango, and they will eventually get him, but they've lost Roger for this, and now maybe Raging, as he does not get petrified up, and never mind, because an arrow does land onto Moon. He was just stunned up permanently. They get the Ember, they'll get the Tusk, and now they're having a look over for mid one. See if we can land a nice arrow here from Tim's. Yopaj, he's on the chase, but a nice waveform away from mid one is going to allow him to get out. And instead, they'll go back into the Roshan.
Yeah, no worries now. No Ravage out from SMG. No buybacks available from the Ember. And that's going to be Roshan number 2 with a free shard. Big spike out for Jackboys once again. And it just makes these fights so much harder. Like, they can just smoke up, they can just take that tier 2 bot, go for the mega creeps, or just go for the end. I don't know if SMG has enough to even fight on their tier 4s right now.
Oh, mid one, Scam. Not gonna see him. Or is he? Looking around for other people. The Moonlight Shadow and the Silver Edge now from Yopaj, they should be able to sneak their way in. Instead, however, they found Arfu, and they prefer to go for the supports first.
Oh my god, Mike. Level 25 Yopaj, second Medusa here.
Uh-oh.
We're at that point. I don't think you can focus Yopaj and Jackie. And you're gonna have to focus both of them, because they both do a ridiculous amount of damage right now.
Would you say that SMG is still moving under gunfire now, Jonathan?
They definitely are, with a little shredder coming into play, Mike. They are moving under gunfire here, and they've got to dodge. They've got to find some cover, find an opening to break, because those bullets are going to pierce right through if they're not careful.
I mean, look at Jackie. Just hitting the buildings. He does not care about anything around him. Hurricane Pike up now. Moon again with an aggressive blink in, but damage is just so lacking from this Ember at the moment. So again, Jackie understands with the double life, it's going to be too hard to deal with him. So he'll just keep going on to those tier 4 towers. Raging Potato, meanwhile, going to be broken up, but again, just being completely ignored here by Ardusa. Jackie. Looks like he eventually will back off for a bit. They've got to address that bot lane, and, well, there is a double damage rune spawned up in that bot rune spot, so you may as well just make your way over. Secure the rune onto Yopaj or the Dusa, and it looks like Yopaj will take it for himself, because why the hell not? And I suppose you just go for the mega creeps, just for safety reasons. Or maybe just force a fight again.
I think a fight would just lead to a tier 4. So I think SMG has to be very cautious as to when they force that fight. They have a lot to lose. I think they just force Boom to go for the mega creeps play around their last set of racks. That's the ideal situation here for SMG, and they've got to be patient for that. They are trying to play poke and prod, skydiving around. They might force the fight here.
They may. I mean, it feels like they've got to try something. Just preparing for the incoming fight. It's almost guaranteed to happen because Boom just obviously very confident with their lead right now. 26k net worth advantage, and again, double life on Jackie. They're going to find out Tim's, but the arrow does land onto Moon already. Meanwhile, Raging has jumped in right into the center. Who are they aiming? They got Skem on that lion, but now the Stone Gaze has been popped. Jackie, who are we aiming? He'll go after the Tide again, just wanting to get rid of that Ravage, as he does now pop it. Mid one, though, getting very low as well. They're just grouped up in that tree line, but they do take down the Tide, as Mid one will charge back in onto FBZ, but he's gone too far.
No.
He has gone way too far, but he will waveform back towards the north and try to survive for another day.
Oh!
Meanwhile, the little Shredder, Yopaj just melts them. He completely melts the side of SMG, just turreting them down. They might even find Arfu. An ultra kill once again for the Snapfire. In fact, he's looking for the Rampage, John. Up at top lane. Could he find mid one? No, mid one. He'll waveform away to the tier 4 tower. Another ultra kill. I doubt he makes it in time for the Rampage. But you never know. But I think it is about too late.
Yeah, and SMG, they forced the fight by tier 2. They needed to force Boom up to the rack, so at least there's a little bit more leeway there. Now their Ancient's exposed.
That it is, and they found Raging. That'll be a dieback, and my goodness, that's a lot of damage mid one. Waveforms right into them. Moon's been hexed up. That's his life gone. It's mid one and Roger versus the world, but they call it GG. Boom Esports will be the victor of this best of 3 series. And I believe that puts them right through to the upper bracket final.
No! It does. They do move on. Rampage denied from Yopaj. Jackie is not getting an iPhone from that if Yopaj has anything to say about it. But Boom, my God, what a game! Right? Like they play amazingly well. They pick up that Snapfire to counteract the Ember. SMG forced to take the Ember because they didn't ban it out. So they take it themselves. They forget Snapfire just ruins that lane, and we saw that early on. And there was some leeway here for SMG. They had Afu with a Spirit Breaker, and they had Roger with a Tusk. They had some good movements onto mid that were a possibility, but we didn't see it fast enough. Afu was much more focused on the top lane, trying to help out mid one instead of shutting down Yopaj, and that just allowed Yopaj to hit his level 6 spike, get the kisses off, just melt down the Ember, hit that early spike, and SMG, they kind of went for the same old thing. They got punished for it, but boom. There were some questions about that chemistry coming in. It's showing us that Jackie's fitting right in, Mike.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you looked at the smiles on their faces when we just went through the cameras, and everyone looking very happy, nobody breaking a sweat. Everyone's very, very satisfied, it seems. And I mean, quite frankly, they made this series look very, very easy. Let's be honest. Boom Esports just ahead of the curve here. With that, though, John, we are going to head off to a very short break. And, of course, right after that break, we'll be back with our post-series panel to discuss what happened in this best of 3.
Welcome back. That game number 2 was an absolute performance from Boom, and it does mean that they take this series in a 2-0 fashion, pushing them to that upper bracket finals. They'll be playing in the second series tomorrow, so if you want to catch some more Boom action, make sure you guys join in for that. But let's focus on this game number 2 and break it down a little bit, because I want to know so much more about that Snapfire, John. You predicted it, you were so hyped for it, and honestly, it looked great.
Oh yeah, it's just insane what that hero has in lane up against the Ember. You have so much magic damage, you have such great wave clear, your spell spam is pretty cheap. You just kind of cookie the creep wave. A melee hero has to kind of dodge, and you almost always hit that cookie. Follow up, clear out the wave with a scatter blast, and you just win. And you have so much team fight potential. You have this great scaling with the blink shard timing that we saw Yopaj hit. He just went insane in these fights. The kisses from a mile away, then gap closing afterwards to provide damage for your team. Scaling into late game with your 2025 talents. The hero has almost everything. It's just completely broken in the right hands, and that's as a core. Even as a support, as we saw in different games, it's also really strong. So it's just a hero that fits in really well. I think for SMG, there were some fights that were taking well, but it boiled back to the same issue. We saw this a bit in game 1, Natty and Mike. We saw them overcommit for Skem's line, right? They'd always jump the line, they'd always jump the Mirana, they'd ignore the cores, and they'd commit so much, they'd blow almost all their spells in the supports, nothing left for the big cores. And you're dealing with Adusa. You need those spells to handle Jackie, but by the time they clear out the supports and focus on him, it's over. They use too much on the supports to kind of look for an angle here.
You talked about briefly that there were some fights SMG were taking that looked okay, and it wasn't necessarily the fight that looked good, but it was the morph in one specific sort of play where he wait formed back in, and it was just him just living on it, like a sliver of health, and they end up popping the Aegis eventually on the side of Boom. But how much do you think that played into SMG potentially having that, leg up when it came to pickoffs and other team fights later in the game, Mike?
It's kind of hard, right? Because I think SMG, with the position with the position they were in that game, it's like you have to take every advantage you can get. So I think mid one was just trying to make something, some kind of worthwhile trade for his team. But did it have a big impact? Probably not. I think Boom Esports was still able to follow their strategy, no matter what was going to happen with that Aegis. I think mid one was just kind of feeling quite desperate for his team and needed to try and make something happen, but. Yeah, I feel like no matter whether that happened or not, it's just whatever. Like Boom Esports, they always had a game plan and they were following it to perfection. So I feel like they always basically had this game as soon as it started.
Definitely, we pulled that out kind of off the draft as well. But if you guys had to give someone, a really standout player for you guys on the side of Boom, who would it be if you want to go first, Michael?
I mean, I feel like we always come back to this. It's probably Yopaj, right? Like Yopaj, the man's a monster. He just went 32-14 on mid Snapfire. Got 30 kills in that game. If I wasn't to choose Yopaj, I'd go down the Skem route, because Skem's just been a nuisance all game on this line. But I think Yopaj is a monster.
And what about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, Yopaj is the easy bet. I'm going to go left field. I'm going to say Tim's. I think he did a lot on his Mirana. There's a reason why that Mirana is almost always a ban when he was on TNC. And SMG allow him to pick it up, and he just performs. I think that Mirana opened up a lot of that early game, and he is a terrifying monster in that hero.
Definitely. Now, Mike, you said a name before. It was Skem. Skem, you're going to be joining us for an interview. Congratulations on the win. How do you feel?
Hello guys, thank you. I feel good.
Yeah? How's the atmosphere in the team knowing that you guys are going straight to the upper bracket finals?
It's good, but we are still on focus. We are happy, but we are still hungry to win.
With this series, the drafts were great. You guys kind of looked very decisive in what you were doing. Were you surprised by any picks of SMGs?
At first, we know that they will Bara, but we didn't expect that they will Bara more first space. But yeah, we are ready for it, the Bara.
John, if you have any questions that you want to ask?
Yeah, I'm curious, Skem. Do you guys prefer now, like that you guys are out of Team House right now? Is it easier for you guys to just relax and play, or do you prefer the atmosphere of being together in one location?
We prefer we are together, but we need to rest also for the second major.
Fair enough. Now, I'm curious, like, you guys had a great performance up against SMG. Out of all the teams that you might potentially face here in the regional finals, what team are you guys looking forward to play against? Like, is there a team that you kind of want to prove a point against? Is there a team that you guys think is the strongest that you'll face against? What team would you like to play against?
Not really. We just play who we fight, then focus and study them. Yeah.
Fair enough. Mike, you got something?
Yeah, Scam, you had a power outage in game number 1. The power completely went out. What happened? How did you get back? I heard you drove to a cafe and then you had to drive back home. What the hell happened?
Yeah, my brother got motorcycle. Then we driving to cafe already halfway. Then my mom called me that there's an light already. Then we go back.
Jeez, how annoying! How annoying! How did you find Jackie in the team, by the way? I mean, obviously a new addition, but you guys look like you're playing as if you've been doing it for the last year. Did you feel very comfortable supporting Jackie in that safe lane?
Yeah, I'm so comfortable because he's really a good player. We really like Jackie since last time, but we cannot get him. But now we can.
All right,
Right.
That's,
I think I've got one more.
Okay.
Got one more. Has Gary given you guys the iPhones yet, Scam? Do you have my iPhone na ba?
No, but they say soon this month.
Okay.
Make
Good to
sure
hear.
he keeps his word. Skip, before we let you go, I do want to ask one question though. Can you give me a prediction for how you think the results are going to go? Which team do you think is going to come first, and which team do you think is going to come last over the next 3 days?
Of course, I'm hoping that we are gonna go first. Then maybe Fnatic T1 SMG.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to
Okay.
seeing if that's how it's going to play out. Thank you so much for joining us for an interview, and congratulations again on the win.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
See ya. Well, that does conclude our first series, and unfortunately, it does also mean that this is going to be the last that we see of you, John, and MLP for today. If you guys do want to see more of them, they are going to be coming back tomorrow. That's right. I wouldn't let you guys go and never return. Come on. But thank you both so much for joining. We are going to jump to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be coming back with our second series of the day and 2 new casters.